All right, you should have gotten a table that looks very similar to this. This is just to kind of help you review the differences between the different types of organic compounds. The first one that we're going to look at is carbohydrates. Carbohydrates are composed of the elements oxygen, carbon, and hydrogen. So go ahead and fill that in on your table. And again, that's kind of where that name carbohydrates comes from. Their building blocks, they're composed of monosaccharides. Remember, you can have the monosaccharides, it's just that simple sugar. You can have disaccharides, which is two monosaccharides linked together. And you can have your polysaccharides, which is a bunch of these monosaccharides attached to one another. And their functions within your body are to store energy. Okay? That's their main one. They store energy. They can be converted into fat, so more of a long-term storage of energy, but that is their main function. Their types, as I said before, we've got glucose. Okay, glucose is a monosaccharide, and starch would be an example of a polysaccharide. So make sure you get all of that filled in. Give you a second here before we move on to the next one. All right, our next organic compound is lipids. Lipids are composed of oxygen, carbon, and hydrogen, just like carbohydrates, but the ratio of them is different. Remember, carbohydrates was 1 to 2 to 1. Lipids, it's a little bit different than that. Their building blocks include fatty acids attached to glycerol. Their function, like carbohydrates, is to store energy, right? So they have the same function. Carbohydrates are more like quick energy, you burn that right away. Lipids, it's more of a long-term energy storage. And the types, fats, steroids, common steroid would be cholesterol. You find phospholipids, another type. They're the ones that are a big component of your cell membrane. I'll give you a little bit here if you need to write these down before we move on to the next one. All right. Our third organic compound are nucleic acids. And nucleic acids, as the other ones, have oxygen, carbon, and hydrogen. In addition, they also contain nitrogen and phosphorus. And that phosphorus is a big important part of the backbone or the sides of like your DNA or your RNA. The nitrogen is a big part or component of the bases that form the rungs or of the ladder of the DNA. All right, their building blocks are called nucleotides, and their nucleotides consist of a 5-carbon sugar, a base, and a phosphate group. So the 5-carbon sugar and the base contain or make up the 5-carbon sugar, and the phosphate group make up the sides, and then the base makes up like the steps of the ladder itself. If you can kind of visualize the DNA, and that stuff we will be talking about more in depth when we get to our unit on DNA, probably December. Its functions are to store your hereditary information. Okay, it's stored in the nucleus of the cell, as well as to make proteins. The DNA is the one that stores the hereditary information. The RNA is the one that is used to make your proteins. And types, as we said earlier, include DNA and RNA. I will give you a second or two to finish writing before we move on to the next one. Okay, our last group are proteins. Proteins, like the other ones, contain the oxygen, carbon, and hydrogen. Also contains nitrogen, and some proteins contain sulfur. Their building blocks are called amino acids. And so a protein is composed of there's 20 different amino acids. The protein is composed of a bunch of these amino acids linked together. They're held together by polypeptide bonds. Their functions are varied. They have a lot of different functions. They include transporting oxygen, okay, that would be your hemoglobin, allowing your hair and nails to be stronger, that would be keratin. Okay, there's more keratin in your fingernails than in your skin, which is what makes your fingernails a lot tougher. In addition to making the stuff tougher, it also helps to waterproof it. It also assists with the clotting of blood. Okay, you've got these factors that are used to help your blood clot. If you have an open wound, you don't want your blood clot or your blood to clot if there is no wound. That would not be so good. And the types of proteins, again, include hemoglobin, keratin, collagen. Collagen is what allows your skin to be, kind of provides that elasticity for your skin. I'm going to go ahead and leave this up for a little bit, just so if you need to copy any of those down, you can do that. And again, this is just to help you review and kind of see the differences, compare the different organic compounds. It's just another way of looking at this information. So if you need this up, go ahead and just press pause. Otherwise, I am going to end your video.